Okay, let's all click the recording button. There we go. Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this morning's webinar on Getting Found Online, a no-nonsense guide to search engine optimization. So if you have any questions throughout the program, you could feel free to add them in the chat box, but we will also have time for live Q&A at the end of the event. We also encourage you to add your contact information in the chat box, and we will share that with the group following the event so you can stay in touch with the other attendees. So now I have the pleasure of introducing our speaker for today's presentation. Dominic Vecchiollo has worked in publishing and marketing from a young age, since starting a class newsletter in the 4th grade, and opened DOSSU Design and Consulting, a digital marketing agency, in 2001. During his career, he's created and worked on award-winning campaigns for nonprofit organizations, government agencies, and local businesses. He's worked at Baltimore Center Stage and the Human Rights Campaign, as well as print shops and marketing agencies in Central Maryland. Along the way, Dominic has learned a good deal about reaching audiences and moving them into action. Now he's applied some of that experience to help you harness the power of the internet to attract more customers, and he's made it easy too. So I will turn it over to you, Dominic. Thanks for joining us today.
Great, thank you, Christy. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. And for those of you in person, thanks for coming. And for those of you online, thanks for taking the time out. I ran through this a couple of times yesterday, and it's kind of meaty, so I want to jump right in so that there's time for questions and answers. And I may speed through some of the segments just to make sure we get through it. Let's see. Okay, there we go. So what we're going to cover here today, there are going to be three main takeaways from this conversation. One is we'll talk about search engine results pages, and we'll take a look at page 1 of Google search and sort of explain what drives how you appear in each section of page 1. We'll also talk about the importance of your Google business profile. It used to be called Google My Business, and if I slip up and say GMB instead of GBP, see, it's really hard to say. GMB is a lot easier to say, but Google Business Profile. It's a free listing on Google, and it can really help make a difference in visibility in search. And finally, we'll talk about organic search. This is all, I'm going to sort of reveal the top 3 ranking factors that you can focus on over time to help improve your ranking in organic search. So I just want to start by acknowledging that, of course, we've had, everything was kind of rolling along kind of seamlessly. Everything was kind of humming along 2019, 2020. The pandemic hit and everyone was kind of like, what do we do now, right? And so being challenged in life is inevitable and being defeated is optional. Even though we're coming out of COVID and even with more steam than ever before, it seems this year, which is awesome, we're still hearing about inflation and the possibility of a recession and all these other things going on. So we just need to kind of stay on top of these things and constantly remember that challenge breeds opportunity. So there were lots of opportunities that sort of came to the fore during COVID in terms of loan opportunities, forgiveness and loan forgiveness, all of those things. There were lots of things at the federal level, at the state level, and a lot of us as business owners were constantly trying to keep up with all of that and trying to keep up with those opportunities. So we just want to acknowledge that we're all here for a good reason, to kind of keep up with all the opportunities that are available to us and really kind of learn about how to optimize some of the practices to help people find us. And really just the fact that you all have taken the time to put this on your calendar to show up in person or online is really amazing. And I really like that. And I want to thank everybody for making that investment of time. And I also want to take a moment to, there's not another slide there. I also want to take a moment just to, especially for the people who are on Zoom, just to give yourselves the permission to, you've set this time aside on your calendar to do this seminar. So I really want to sort of take a page out of Brene Brown and write yourself a permission slip to really shut everything off, put put your phone aside, close your email windows, and just focus on what's going on here right now for the next 45 minutes or so, and really maximize that investment in yourself. So who is this for? This presentation really is for anyone who wants to generate more business, because one of the things I found is that business owners really sort of make a lot of assumptions. We're busy doing lots of different things, and so we can't always focus on on very specific things like SEO or digital marketing tactics. And so this is an opportunity to just gain some clarity about SEO, what it can do for you, and how it works. And you can make a decision then about how much you want to invest in that effort. And ultimately, we all want to make 2023 the best year ever. So who am I? Who are we? As Christy mentioned, I'm Dominic Vecchiollo. We're actually we filed a DBA and we're going through a reband right now. So my business was founded as DOSSU Design and Consulting in 2001, and we're kind of rebranding as DOSSU Digital Marketing. And the reason for that is that, as Christy mentioned in the introduction, my background is in theater and in community organizing. So the thread that kind of ties all of the career together, all of my whole career and my agency, and ties it all together in a neat bundle is the idea of community, and really making sure that I like to make sure that I'm doing things that are going to benefit communities and people at a very local level. And having done work in theater, I have a great story, but I'm gonna ask me about it later. If we do a one-on-one after this, or if you run into me somewhere, ask me about the story about when I was growing up and was 5 or 6, and I produced a play in our neighborhood with the other kids in the neighborhood. It's a great story, and it really talks. But what the core of it, and I'm just gonna give you the cliff note, is that it really brought to mind at an early age for me the importance of community and how people get involved when they are asked. And so fast forward to today, I really find that working with locally owned businesses, and when I say locally owned, people like to say, oh, you just work with businesses in Baltimore or in Central Maryland. No. The real answer is I want businesses that are tied to their community. I like to work with locally owned businesses that are tied to their community, where the business owner and the business itself is creating some economic momentum inside the community, offering jobs, offering, reinvesting and helping people in their own communities. So that's kind of the thing that ties everything together. And one of the reasons I love doing these seminars is that the other thing that I believe is that when we teach, we all win. So when I teach, we win. When we can share all of our knowledge and information, that's another thing that really drives stuff. So that's probably more than enough said about our agency, my agency. But yeah, so let's jump in and we'll talk about some of the stuff at hand. So first I want to start with, just kind of nailing down why SEO is so important. I think that there are a lot of people who kind of have a sense of why it's important, but when hard pressed to kind of answer the question exactly why it's important, we're not quite sure. We just know we're supposed to be doing it. And then the second part of that is, when people talk about SEO, they always talk about Google, and why is that? So let's look at some statistics really quickly. First of all, Google processes more than 8.5 billion searches per day. That's worldwide, of course, but that's a lot of searches, right? 84% of people in a survey by Moz, which is an online platform that helps with digital marketing, Moz found that 84% of respondents use Google 3 or more times a day. The other reason why Google is important is that it's the 10,000-pound gorilla in the room. It has almost 92% of the market share as of last January. So, we hear about Bing, we hear about Yahoo search, we hear about all these other search engines. All together, those search engines make up only 8% of searches. So that's why we focus so much attention on Google. 46% of product searches begin on Google. which makes sense. If you think about the last time you needed something, that's the first thing you did was you went on to Google and you said, I'm like, where can I drive and get this thing in live without, which store has this thing I need, as opposed to having it shipped. And another important statistic, 90% of survey respondents, and this is a different survey by Search Engine Land, said that they were likely to click on results only on page 1. And that leads us to the oft told joke about search engine optimization and search in general. What is the best place to hide a dead body, or where? On page 2 of search. So another thing to keep in mind is that voice assistants and voice activated devices are really growing exponentially right now. It's increased, the number of voice devices have increased 55% since 2017. This year, studies show that 123.5 million adults will use a voice assistant at least once per month, and we expect that to rise to nearly half of US adults within the next 3 years. And another fun fact that I uncovered recently is that soon there will be more voice assistant devices in use than there are people on the planet. So maybe a little scary, or maybe it's a little eye-opening, but we're going to talk a little bit about how your optimizing for search engines should include being findable and being able to be found through a voice search. So that's kind of something that people don't think of very often, and it's also very important when it comes to search. So, and here's the thing why search is so important in general, is that people kind of think that they're going to hear about your business either from an association event, or you're going to meet someone at a networking event, get a personal referral, see an ad, see your listing on Facebook, and they're going to straight out to your business and find, and get a call. But that's not really the way it works. They're going to hear about you, and they're not going to remember your business name. They're not going to remember your name. They're going to try and Google. They're going to try and remember it, or they're going to ask someone. They're going to Google. They're going to figure out where you are by Googling something related to what you do. And then they're going to find your phone number and address. They're going to look at your website. They're going to check you're reputable, and they're finally going to start reviewing all your services. And so it actually works that they're going to search. They're going to get a search result, and they're going to get a bunch of options at that point. And they're going to do one of three things. They're going to continue on to your business because they're very certain that you are the person they want to do business with. Or they're going to get distracted on the way and see when they do that search that there's another company that does something similar, or that looks like they do something similar, that has a better reputation, that is closer, that is, name your thing here, or higher up on the search results, and they're going to go out to a competitor and contact that competitor instead. Or there's going to be no clear answer when they start searching. Everyone's going to have either a very similar reputation, or it's going to be overwhelming, and they'll say, well, I'm going to decide this later, I'm going to look at this later, and I'm going to do nothing right now. And so we want to use SEO and all the tools at our disposal to help people understand that your business is the one that they should choose at that moment of decision making. So we're going to talk next. I'm going to talk next briefly about how you can best leverage SEO in your overall marketing strategy and where it belongs, because that's one of the things that we do. Is we actually do free marketing playbooks for businesses that help them kind of understand the whole universe of digital marketing and what they should be doing right now to really leverage what they should be doing. And at the end of the day, not all marketing strategies serve the same goal, right? This is a little outline of the customer's journey that I use and I refer to regularly, called the buying cycle. There are 4 stages: awareness, consideration, the actual purchase, and then advocacy. And of these 4 things, we can only influence those 4 phases, right? And actually the purchase phase, aside from, there are a few marketing tactics that we can use, like if somebody started a purchase process on your website and didn't complete it, there are some things that we might be able to do to shake those processes loose. But really, the strategies that the segments of the buying cycle that we can really influence, or the stages, are really awareness, consideration, and advocacy. And so So that means that there are really three ways to find customers on the internet. There are active searchers, and that's where SEO really comes into play. There are passive prospects. These are people who might be interested in your goods and services if they knew about you, or if they knew there was a company that did what you do. Like there might even be that kind of hurdle that you have to get over. And so we often use things like social media advertising and things like that, display advertising, to kind of get people familiar with you and start to warm them up. And then there's referrals and the word of mouth customers. And that's sort of the three ways to find customers on the internet. And so SEO mainly targets active searchers. And so that's the part, this consideration thing. We want to make it easier for people who are in this stage of the buying cycle to decide they want to choose you and to complete that purchase. And so those people are known as the hot buyers, right? These are the people with money in hand. They woke up this morning, they had a problem, they decided today was the day they were going to solve the problem that they've been thinking about or they had, and they go online to start figuring out how they're going to solve it. Whether it's, you name it, you know, but those are the hot buyers. And so these are the people that we can really influence by showing up in search and showing up well in search. So here's an example of that. I'm going to use like solar energy or solar panels, residential solar as an example. So let's say that there is a home buyer, right? And they're just getting to the end of purchasing their first home or a new home. And they have been interested in the environment for a long time. They're interested in reducing their energy bills. And they've known all along that when they buy a home, they're going to install solar. And so they finish up their closing documents or whatever, or they're coming up in that final week of getting, and they're starting to get their act together to figure out when they're going to do it and how quickly they can get it installed and all that stuff. And they're going to go online and they're going to start searching for solar companies, or they're going to ask their friends, and their friends give a referral, and they're going to go online and start searching for that reputation. So that's kind of an example of a person that's in this position of being a hot buyer. So just to reiterate, marketing efforts will only ever influence active searchers, passive audiences, or word of mouth or referrals. And SEO, search engine optimization, will most directly influence active searchers who woke up and are looking for your products or services. So that brings us to takeaway one. They start searching, that person starts searching, and they get a search engine results page. So this might be a little hard to see, but the details aren't really important here. This is really just a map for us to look at. And you're all familiar with what page one of search looks like, right? But what you may not be familiar with, or maybe you do know this intuitively, but you aren't, is that there are really three big sections on that page one of search. You've got advertising at the top. You've got the map search, the local search piece. We often call that a map 3-pack because it's usually three. There's sometimes an ad in there as well, and that can be a fourth one that shows up. But usually you get 3 top hits in the map search based on your location. And then we've got everything below that, and on to page 2 and 3 and 4 is what we call organic SEO. And so to get in the top piece of that, you pay money. You can get online and up and running with a search, with a pay-per-click ad within a week usually, and you can start showing up for people in search right away. The map pack is all driven by your Google business profile and the strength of your Google business profile. So, and there are some ties into your website from that and a few other external things, but the bulk of the results showing in the map, in the local search, in the map pack is driven by your Google business profile. And then everything below that in organic search is driven mainly by the content on your website and the trust factors coming from your website. So, so one other piece of advertising, there's also something called local service ads, which will sometimes show up at the top as this sort of carousel you'll see. And it's also, people often call it Google Guaranteed because it says Google Guarantee. There's a little Google Guarantee badge often there. Or in certain businesses, certain business categories, you won't get a Google Guarantee, you'll get Google Screened instead. And so the thing about those is that they're only available to certain business categories for local service ads. And this is the list of them. There are about 30 categories that that are available, and the reason for that is that Google has identified certain categories that have a lot of spam websites or spam content and things like that. So you can go through a few extra steps with Google, and the result, and you can get, and the result of going through those extra steps is that you get more highly qualified leads from Google through those ads than you do with basic pay-per-click. But you have to be one of these sort of categories that have been identified as low trust categories in terms of search and things like that. So so these are so that's local service ads, a quick thing on there. And then another thing to realize, if you don't know this already, is that what you see when you search from your office is not what people are seeing when they're searching for your business from wherever they are. Depending on where you are, when you do your search, the results will be different. Even if you do like HVAC Odenton, you're going to get different results depending on where you are. Even if you have put a specific city in place in. But of course, if you do near me, you're going to get different results.
What is that?
We're going to talk about that in just a second. Yeah, absolutely. It has to do, the short answer, it has to do with the strength of your Google business profile, and that's what this shows. So this is a tool we use called the Local Search Geo Grid. It's offered by different online digital marketing, not vendors, but different sites. There's like Moz or White Spark or Local Falcon or Local Viking. There are a bunch of different sites that offer these this tool. And what it shows is, in this case, there's a contractor, roofing contractor of specific business, Phil DeBello Family Roofing. They're located down in just south of the harbor, or in Dundalk. And if you put in their company as the search factor that I'm interested in seeing their results for that company, and I type in roofing contractor as a search term, the green dots are where they're showing up on page 1. So it's a pretty specific location, right? And then you can see as you get over towards the Eastern Shore, you get some results on page 1. The orange, there are a few oranges in there. They're showing up sort of on page 2, light oranges or light reds. Again, sort of along the shorelines. And then you get all the red where they're showing up on page 3 or deeper in search engines. And the important thing to note is that this changes over time. So this is the result for this is a result for a client we've been working with recently who's based in Habitat Race. And this was their GeoGrid in mid-November. We've been working with them mostly with their Google business profile. They've been doing their own social media posts, and they've also been doing some work on their website, but not a ton at this point. And in 2.5 months, their GeoGrid looks like this. So it might not be easy to see, but there are more green dots, and the green dots are starting to radiate outward from their location, which is right in the middle of this map. And even some of the red dots we're seeing like over here on the left, towards the second column on the left, you'll see there are all 20s going down there. But we're starting to see some movement around Churchville where they're getting on they're showing up on page 2. There's a 16 and a 19, and 11 just north in the third column. So we're starting to move up in the search engine rankings over time with a little bit of focus on results or on their Google business profile. And so that's takeaway number 2, which is the importance of your Google business profile and other trust factors that go along with that. And there are some external trust factors. And everyone, if you're not familiar, this is a free offering from Google that you can claim and verify and start to optimize over time, and it can really change how you show up in search. And so the biggest question that I always ask is, when talking to a business, is have you claimed and verified your Google business profile? Some people are a little hesitant to claim it because there may be a home-based business or something like that, and they don't want people showing up at their house. But you can rest assured that when you give Google your address to verify it, they will send out the postcard. None of that gets published until you actually enter that code. Now, Google is moving a lot these days towards doing video verification. So either with a video phone call or with a video walkthrough, like you record a video and send it to them, and they verify that. But they still are doing quite a few verifications by postcard. So you have to enter an address for them to send the postcard, the address that's on your business listing, whatever when you go to claim it. But you can, once you enter they send you a postcard, it has a code on it, you go back online, you enter that code, and then before you publish it, you have the opportunity to hide your address and then list your business as what's known as a service area business, where you enter a bunch of zip codes where you provide services, and you can and then have a thing. Yeah, you had a question?
Just curious, let's say I've already verified my Google page.
Mm-hmm.
I keep getting phone calls from people who say they're from Google, that they want to help me with my verification or help me with my something dealing with Google. I don't know if it's a spam calls, people are marketing trying to.
That's a good question. So Google does call occasionally. They will do calls occasionally. If you haven't updated like your hours in a long time, they go through spates where they're very high intensity, going through and trying to update people's hours and things like that. If you are 100% verified, anyone who calls you claiming to be verified is probably a spam call. Yeah.
Try to connect with you to sell you some kind of service.
Yeah, that might be the case. I mean,
someone else verify your Google page and then hold it hostage and try to sell it back to you.
I haven't experienced that. But
I'm sure.
if you don't claim it, there's always the possibility that someone could claim it. That's why they do the verification. So if there's an address, that postcard is supposed to have to go to your business. The video verifications, usually they're asking you to do things like, whenever I coach somebody on if they have to do a remote video verification rather than a live call where they're actually sending in a video, the steps I usually go through are: show them the start outside your building, show them the sign outside, walk in, show yourself unlocking the door and walking in. If you have trucks or a warehouse that has your branding on it, show them those trucks parked out back and stuff like that. Walk to your desk, show you, like, they need a very specific first person experience. And we're going to talk a lot about first person experience when we get a little bit later in, but yeah. Yeah. And same with me. I've been in one place for so long that when I went to verify it, I didn't have to do anything. They were like, yep, you're you. Like, it was that I didn't have to do a verification. But they've been really cracking down in the last 9 or 10 months on spam and spam profiles and things like that. And there's also been machine learning. AI has been being employed a lot more in shutting down those spammy profiles and spammy reviews. I had a client recently who was getting friends and people to leave reviews, and they didn't have a lot of specific things in, like Sean came to my house and put on a shingle roof. They were just things like, he's wonderful, he does a great job. And we saw no reviews getting posted to his site for a period of about a month. We were just getting ready to go in and spend a little money with some of my Google expert contacts to be like, okay, we need to get this unstuck. It's been locked because of spammy reviews. And then we started after about a month, we started seeing reviews get posted again to the site. So the machine learning gets a little overzealous sometimes, the AI does, but yeah, a lot of that's been taken over by machine learning too. But so here are some basic steps for optimizing your Google business profile. Again, claim and verify your listing. We talked a lot about that just now. Once you get verified or in the process of being verified, you can complete all of your profile information. So that includes things like a keyword-rich description for your business, maybe posting some questions and answers, and adding high-quality photos. That's important. You should have at least 20 photos in your Google business profile, and they should be really showing you interacting with customers or showing customers interacting with your business. Google really likes that first person experience. I've said that twice now. This is the second time I'm saying it. You're going to hear it again and again. But that first person experience is really important to Google, and it's something that AI can't duplicate. And so that's one of the reasons that Google has gotten kind of focused on it recently. Encourage reviews. Reviews are a big part of how well your Google business profile performs. And you should also interact with those reviews. You should monitor and respond to both positive and negative reviews. And with negative reviews, I'm going to just coach I coach people on responding to negative reviews a lot. With negative reviews, never argue with the customer online. Get it offline as quickly. Offer to take it offline. Address their concern, but address it from a point of as a business owner. So take it as an opportunity. We had a house cleaner recently, a house cleaning client recently, who an applicant posted a negative review and said, it took almost 2 weeks for them to get back to me. And so we came up with a review that said, it was very respectful. We said something along the lines of, oh, it was regrettable. It took us longer to get back to you than any of us would have liked. So a little bit of mea culpa, and then saying, we had to go through a certain number of steps to make sure for the safety of our clients. We have to check references. We have to do a background check. So it's an opportunity to also educate anybody else reading that review about all the stuff you do to make sure that your clients are being taken care of. And then, close it off by saying, we appreciate that you got in touch with us about a job, and we know your time is valuable, and we appreciate doing it. Please get in touch with the office if any other questions about our thing. So, but you should also respond to negative reviews or to positive reviews with equally engaging. You don't have to respond to all of them, but I would say at least once a month be going in, depending on your volume of reviews, going in and responding to something. And then use keywords where you can, in your description, in your business categories. You can also make posts to your Google business profile, and a lot of people don't realize that you can do posts like you can to a social media account. And so that's another way to make short, usually when we're working with clients, they're usually about 80 words long. We usually do several a month. And we're either promoting a particular service or talking about an aspect of your business, and then linking people back to your website to learn more about that particular service. And it's a great opportunity to add photos as well. And so those kinds of things can be done by doing posts and including keywords.
As far as leaving a review or responding to a review, let's say you came late to the game in understanding Google, you finally start responding over the past couple of years, but you've got reviews from 3, 4, 5 years ago. Don't bother
with those. Yeah, news, right? It is old news, and we'll talk about that in a second too. When there is a little bit more about reviews coming up, but and then keep your information up to date. Google also really likes to see that you're engaged with your profile. So if there's a holiday coming up and you're closed or you're open, make sure you log in and update that your hours for that holiday. If you've got President's Day coming up, you can put that in there. Open on President's Day, 9 to 5, or closed on President's Day. Like, Google really loves to see that you are actively engaged in keeping those things up to date. So yeah, that's the next big question, is how are your online reviews? A couple of just quick statistics here. You can read these, but I'm going to highlight the bottom two. 85% of people trust online reviews as much as a personal recommendation. That's just crazy, right? Some stranger on the internet posting a review about your business, people are going to trust that as much as asking their neighbor or their sister-in-law or somebody that they know and trust. The other thing is that this goes to your question about old reviews, and 77% of consumers think that reviews older than 3 months aren't relevant. So they're not really going to take those. They're not going to dive in when it gets that old. And in fact, 48% of people think that reviews older than 2 weeks aren't relevant. So that's just like staying on that and getting people like kind of having a strategy for kind of constantly asking for reviews and keeping that fresh is important. Another couple of interesting things about reviews, Google rolled out this update, I want to say last year, or it might have been 2 years ago. Time is flying so fast, I don't remember anymore. I think it might have been about 18 months ago. And if you type in best with your search term, so best restaurant, best, in this case, best chiropractor near me, Google will automatically filter out anybody with a star rating lower than 4.
Oh.
And will only show you star ratings 4 and above. And then there's also a little filter on some search results. I think this may be less prevalent. I know they were rolling it out in different markets around the country, and I realize that I'm showing you these slides, and I haven't seen this recently. So I'm not sure if it's still active in our region or not. But you can also, when you're on the map, you can also filter by the number of stars. So you can even ratchet that up. I only want to look at businesses that have 4.5 star rating and above. So that's something that people can do. So the star rating and the reviews are important. One of the other offsite signals that are important for overall search engine optimization, the map pack or organic results, is how certain Google is about who and where you are. And they'll look at, there are about 28 sort of the biggest internet directories. You know, things like Yelp, Foursquare, Yahoo, Bing, all these other directories. Google is going to go out and look at all of those other directories and see if your name, your business name, your address, and your phone number are the same across all those directories and consistent. And when Google sees that consistency in those 3 things across the internet, it's going to increase their certainty, increase your, trust. I'm doing air quotes, trust scores about your business. And then there's also citations. So when your business name, address, and phone number also, or name, address or phone number, or address or phone number, whatever combination, starts to appear on other websites that Google trusts, when you're cited on other websites, that's what the citation network is, that Google already trusts, that aren't the directories, that's also going to help increase your score. And so that's something to sort of keep an eye on as well. And there are services, we help clients do this, but there are services online where you can sign up and check your directory listings and have them go through and make sure everything is consistent, and they will do that on your behalf. So that's moving us, that's kind of a bridge, that sort of that last slide about directories and citations is a bridge into organic search as well. And so we're going to talk about the top 3 ranking factors for organic search. The first one is backlinks. So the idea here is that Google is a free service, right? And they want to serve up results that are useful to people, because Google makes all its money from people going on and looking at ads, basically. And so they want to make sure that they're serving up results that are useful to people. One of the ways that Google understands, and Google isn't people, right? It's machines kind of processing content and data. And one of the things that Google knows is that if it already trusts a bunch of websites and those websites are linking to your site, then it's going to trust your site a little bit more based on that. So backlinks from reputable sites are important. And you can ask for backlinks if you've posted a blog post. You can ask for backlinks from reputable sites, linking to your blog post with keywords. You can also, the other great thing to do for backlinks is chamber membership. The more chamber directories and chamber membership sites you have, or chamber sites linking back to your site, those are high authority websites linking back to your site. I have a client who has almost zero website content. And I went and did a search, and we're going to talk about their domain rating. We're going to talk about domain rating in a minute, but their domain rating was in the 40s or 50s with almost zero content on their site. And it blew me away. And then I realized that they are members of about 10 chambers in the area, and all of those chambers link back to their sites, and they link out to those chambers. And that was driving that high domain authority. So the other thing is on-page factors, and we're going to talk about each of these things in a little more depth in the next slides. But on-page factors there are some technical things, but it's mostly the content on your website. And then there's the domain factor, and that is sort of the overall health of your site. Actually has a score, and so that is done and that score helps. And so the way these things work is your rank position is actually a factor of the backlinks and the on-page signals taken together, and that is multiplied by your domain factor. So in a figurative sense, this kind of gives you an idea how each of these things, if focused on sequentially or in order, small changes can make a big effect because each one of them is exponential. And so speaking about backlinks, the backlink strength of your website is about 50% of your rank position. And it's important to understand that it's the number of referring domains and not just the number of referring links. Multiple links from the same domain are less valuable than multiple links from different domains. And so the number of high quality websites that are pointing back to your site, the better your backlink strength is, and the better your domain rating will be.
Christy has a question.
Yeah, please.
How do we ensure that our chamber backlinks exist?
Well, when people sign on to the directory, it all comes from your directory, basically. So that directory where people have their websites linking
They
out.
need to make sure that all of that information is accurate.
Yeah, when people are making sure that's accurate. In the case of this other client, that client also had all of the chamber logos in their footer linking out to the chamber site. So that two-way, that was a two-way thing, and that network, that sort of strengthened the overall thing. But yes, it's all in that, and other references to people on your site and from your social media accounts and from your other things are all part of that sort of network.
Dominic, can I just add quickly, some of our members have reported back to us that our directory profile for them ranks higher than their own website in a Google search. Yeah.
And that is absolutely due to the authority that chambers in general have, because they're really good at pushing out different kinds of content. They're really good at connecting to everyone in their community. So just and not to, the Central Maryland Chamber is obviously very good at this, but just the very nature of chambers of commerce as a whole they're high quality and high authority websites in general. But yes, you're right. That is totally true, that often the chamber listing, I'm sure that's, if you Google my company, I'm terrible at all of this right now because I've been kind of pushing things off while we work through the rebrand. So, but if you Google my company, I'm sure that the chamber links are going to be higher than my own website.
The difference between a Google page and your website, though, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the Google results page is a specific thing, and your directory, your Google business profile. So the other thing I referred to before, Google's business is making sure that people are happy with their links, with their search results. So if people click through to a link and then click back to results and then click through to a second link and then stay there for 5 minutes, that first link they clicked on is going to move lower down in search results over time because of that. It's not making searchers happy. And so the content is important, and there's a whole list of reasons of considerations there for content, the word count, comprehensiveness, et cetera, et cetera. And then some more technical things like the title tag on your site, which is the thing that shows up in the little tab at the top mostly. It also is the thing that shows up in search results. That's what shows up, is the title tag, which is often different than any headline on your website. Also the meta description, which is the little description that shows up underneath your search results. Google will just pick something if you don't have one assigned, but you want to optimize that as much as possible. Page speed, the age of your content, the age of your URL. So this is a double-edged sword. Google likes URLs that have been around for a long time, but they like also to see that that content has been updated. So the overall age of your content of that URL is important. Some of the highest ranking pages are pages that have been around more than 3 years. But Google also wants to know that that page has been updated over time. And it recognizes when you update it because it will recrawl your page occasionally and it'll see the new content. And then we have some general basics of on-site SEO that are important. A lot of people sort of start thinking about keywords and they think, I want to rank my website for these keywords. But what you really need to do is focus on matching one URL on your site with one keyword or one keyword combination throughout your site. And the reason for that is if Google is confused about which page to serve up for a particular topic on your site, it's going to serve up somebody else's website entirely. You want to make sure that you're focusing on one URL, matching up one URL on your site with one keyword or keyword combination. And that goes to setting up site, planning out your site very deliberately, getting all the pages ironed out, figuring out which keywords should be part of that URL slug for those pages, and then optimizing the content for that keyword combination on that page. You also want to make sure that your website presents a solid foundation for EEAT. So this was part of the big May Google algorithm update that happened in 2021. It was early summer 2021, big kind of update, and they rolled out expertise, authority, and trust. And then just last fall in August, they pushed out a new algorithm update for content. We call it the helpful content update, and they added experience to that. So now we have to make sure that we're including experience, expertise, authority, and trust. Now you may ask, what's the difference between experience and expertise? And that goes back to that first person experience that we talked about earlier. So being able to tell stories about your first person experience with clients and things like that on your website is key to making sure to separating your site from those that are only being populated by AI generated content, by ChatGPT and other things like that. The chatbots and the AI cannot replicate yet. They cannot replicate that first person experience. So that's one of the things Google has kind of decided they're going to start focusing on to help separate those places that are those websites that are attached to real people, helping real people, as opposed to the ones that are using less real world experience. So first person experience, real world experience also goes to reviews, that first person experience. Google is going to trust those people, those reviews that demonstrate first person experience with your product and service over others. Your core web vitals is another big thing. The core web vitals was another big part of the algorithm, that huge algorithm update in the summer of 2021. And that includes things like your overall site speed. I'm going to tell you up front, everyone up front, if your site is hosted on Google, hosted on GoDaddy, you should find a better host, just across the board, because your site is not going to be delivered fast by GoDaddy. Site speed, efficient code, compressing your images, all of these things are much more under the hood things, but they're more and more important as we're looking forward into 2023. So those are kind of the long and the short of the three main things that I wanted to share with everybody today. What the difference is on search, how to dissect those search engine result pages and show up in those things, the importance of the Google Business Profile and some strategies for getting that optimized and really start practicing that stuff. And then some of the key ranking factors for focusing on organic search. Now, I've talked a lot about the Google Business Profile, and I have a free resource for everyone everyone attending today's seminar. It's 8 steps to increase exposure on Google, and it really talks about how to go about claiming, verifying, and optimizing your Google Business Profile. You can get it by going to the contact form on my website, and there is a drop down for the subject line there. And if you can select, send me the free exposure guide to Google or something like that. I forget what the exact words are. But I'm open now for as long as people want to hang out for Q&A. Also, feel free to send me an email directly. My email's there on the screen, and my contact information I think will be shared with everyone in the follow-up. But yeah. Let's take a look at the chat and see what popped up in questions.
Sure. Beth, did you want to unmute and ask your question?
Yes, hi, good morning. Dominic, really good information. So I've run into situations, whether it's ours or another company, where their website's slow to load and all these things you've listed. If they send it off to their current web person to manage it and they're not getting it straight, should they give them another chance, or should they just find a new company and dump that current company?
Well, so there are a couple of factors here. One is that looking at the core web vitals and kind of focusing on every single one of them may not be the best way forward. So Yes, you should absolutely give folks a second chance. And what you should be doing is looking for improvements. The improvements might not all happen at once, but they're going to happen over time. And so if your improvement, if you have Google Search Console turned on, you're going to see improvements in your traffic, in your impressions, in things like that. And those things are, if you're trending in the right direction, then then I think they're doing an okay job. So I would look at the metrics, and I would use that to guide my decision. And I would also, if your vendor is not responsive, in a way that you would like, that's an important signal in general. I think that we all, as digital marketers, I can speak from experience that we all need to be responding to our clients in a timely manner. We need to be making sure that people are getting the attention they deserve, honestly. And so, that's kind of a judgment call for you, depending on your relationship with that vendor. But I wouldn't, as a rule, I wouldn't say, fire them immediately if you aren't getting satisfaction right away. I would make sure that things are trending in the right direction, and I'd use that data to make a decision.
Good to know. Thank you.
Beth Cool was asking if you're going to
Yeah,
send a copy of your slide deck.
I will. Yeah, I will send
you
a
send it
PDF
to,
link to
Yeah, if you send it
with
to
the
Olivia,
chamber,
we can send it out.
and they will share it in the follow-up. But absolutely.
What kind of advice would you have if your website is controlled by a corporation versus you allowed to do your own website?
So in that case, that's a good one, because a lot of people are doing franchising and things like that. And so a lot of times those websites are actually very well optimized in those situations, or fairly well optimized, if not very well optimized. And you're actually getting a lot of search engine juice, for lack of a better word, is what we call it, the search engine juice, from being affiliated with that larger sort of parent company. And so I would say that if there's an opportunity to have a blog and make your own blog posts, that's important, because you can really start to get your own first person experience incorporated and kind of woven in with that. If that's not really an option, you can you should be able to, if you probably own it. Yeah, you probably don't own the URL. It depends on the URL structure and how it's set up too. Because you could always do a subdomain with a blog that is sort of, blog dot whatever your URL is, depending again. But if that domain is totally managed by the parent company, it may be hard for you to do that. The other thing is to look for opportunities for thought leadership. So getting your name, address, and phone number out there on other websites as citations. So doing doing guest stints on a podcast, asking other local places if you can write an article about something. My husband is an attorney. He writes a lot of articles for newspapers about. He's an estates and trust attorney, so he writes a lot of articles about that, and it gets them published in the region, and has a lot of authority then going back to his website, because those are all published in print, they're published online, things like that. So I sort of put that under the idea of thought leadership. So there are avenues for you to kind of do some of these things around the edges and kind of optimize your other signals that are sending out if you have zero control over it. But there are certain, I know that you're probably also, there are certain rules about whether or not you can have your own website on the side and things like that. So I don't like to skirt the rules, but I do like to find loopholes when we can. Anybody else have questions?
Any other questions? I'm not seeing any in the chat.
What is this trust score? What are they all about?
So I use that as there's not really like a place you can look for a score. Google doesn't really let us know what their algorithm is. The way that we figure out what works and what doesn't is by looking at lots of data. And I piggyback on other vendors and companies that I partner with to learn more about that data as they aggregate it. And so when we say trust scores, it's really just a shorthand of saying Google likes these things in general. And we know it because of what we see in results. And one of the things I didn't share on this one, because I didn't want to get too in the weeds, but SEO, organic SEO, is really an open book test at the end of the day, because you can go online and you can see what's ranking for the keywords you want to rank. You can dissect those pages and look at them. And this is what we do when we do an SEO, an organic SEO engagement with a client, is that we will build something called a content planner, where we'll go out and we'll look at all the top ranking pages for a particular keyword or set of keywords, and then we'll synthesize all of what we find on those. This is the number of words your article or your page needs to be in order to rank. Because if everyone in the top 10 is ranking with, all those articles are 2,000 words, you're not going to rank with a 300-word article. You're going to need to do a little bit better. You're also not going to rank with a 5,000-word article, because Google is telling us that this is the sweet spot, right? So we get a lot of other information too. In the search results pages, you often see the people also ask area in the organic. We like to make sure that we're answering questions like those in our content. And very specifically, we'll do a subhead that is the question with the answer right after it, with the question repeated in the answer, so that gives you another opportunity. If you show up in that, that gives you an opportunity to get on page 1 of search under people also ask. And the other thing you might not have noticed is that when you click on that to see more questions, or if you expand a question under people also ask and then close it again, it will populate more questions underneath of that. And you can keep doing that, and that list will keep getting longer and longer. So you can rank sneakily almost by answering questions that people are asking, even if your total overall ranking is still kind of getting up through the ranks so that you're getting to page 1. So. Okay. So the trust score is really just shorthand for saying all of these things that we know from looking at Google and from kind of examining what Google likes.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. But the domain authority is actually a score we can look at. It's not from Google, it's from other third-party things, but we can look at that. And that's based on about half of it is your backlinks, and the other half are things like those other signals, those offsite signals, those directory listings and things like that.
Okay.
Your reviews, like I could keep going. So
Last call for questions.
Thank you, everybody. I want to just thank everybody for being up here. And I guess, Chrissy, do you have a little closing statement you want to make?
I do. Thank you. Well, yeah, again, thank you to everyone for joining us, but a special thank you to Dominic for all of this incredible information. I learned a ton personally, and I know all of our guests did too. We do hope all of our guests will tune in for our future events. On March 13th, we're having our next Membership 101 class, where you learn all about chamber membership in under an hour. And then on March 15th, we're having our next seminar, just like this one. It will be on the Employee Retention Tax Credit, presented by Patrick Sherney, who's here on the call today. We're looking forward to that one. And then in the evening on March 15th, we'll be having our Women's Leadership Summit. And also save the date, we're having a big gala on March 20th, where we will celebrate local heroes like teachers, police, military service members, and more for their contributions to our community. And then we will also present our Hall of Fame Business Awards to deserving businesses and nonprofit organizations within the chamber. So that's going to be a don't miss event coming up on March 20th. So thank you again so much, Dominic and DOSSU Digital Marketing, for all of this great information. And following the event, we'll send you all an email with his contact information and the slides, so you can stay in touch if you have follow-up questions. So thank you all, and we hope to see you at another event soon. Have a great day.